Now, for the last 10 years of Oldschool Runescape, we have never received a new skill in the game. But that could be changing in 2023, because at the Winter Summit, Jagex announced that they're actually looking to pull a new skill next year. Now, obviously there's a lot of opinions on what skill that should be, and that's kind of why we're going through this process. But the video I'm making right now is something I've actually been working on for a couple of months, so maybe it's about time I make my pitch for what I would like to see as the new skill, and that would be sailing. The sailing skill would be mainly focused on exploring the vast oceans of Gielinor. You'd take your ship to explore the open oceans, as well as tons of new locations unique to sailing, as well as being able to explore existing locations but with new sailing content added. Now, the main gameplay loop from sailing would be to go to one of the 11 ports in Gielinor. You'd start at a low level port like Port Sarim at level 1, and as you leveled up the skill, you'd be able to move on to medium and then eventually high level ports. Now, the bulk of your sailing experience would come from voyages. Voyages would be started from one of these ports and would bring you to one of the many different sailing encounters throughout the map. Now, these could be encounters at sea, which could be something like finding a giant whirlpool, fighting the new colossal kraken, or finding a location to participate in deep sea fishing, which would be a new training method. There also would be numerous land encounters, which would be mostly on new and existing islands. There are dozens of different potential encounters here, such as the Dragon's Eye. This would be a dungeon hidden under a small secluded island, which would have an underground maze leading to a high-level red dragon boss in the center. Or you could find the giant whale encounter, located in one of the distant desert islands. But those are of course just some examples. I'll cover more in a minute. But the general idea is you'd set sail from a port, complete one of the many sailing encounters, and then you return back to one of the ports of Gielinor, gaining sailing experience, loot depending on what sailing encounter you had, and sometimes experience in some of the other skills. Now, in an ideal world, all of these encounters would be non-instanced, real places throughout the map, as well as new islands and ocean locations, so you can interact with other people training the skill. Now, each of the different ports would have access to a different pool of potential sailing encounters, with of course the lower level ports having access to some of the safer, closer to home islands, but as you level up your sailing level and get access to higher level ports, you'll also get access to some of the higher level encounters, which would be a lot more dangerous. Sailing would take advantage mostly of existing ports throughout the game, but it would also see the addition of 2 additional ports, which would be the higher level ones, being Port Wise and even a potential wilderness port, which could open a potential new interesting area of wilderness ocean exploration where nowhere is safe and you could be attacked by other players. Now, while exploring the high seas, the most important thing is going to be your boat. The boat itself is upgradable, which means you can gain additional features the more money you invest into the boat and the higher you get your sailing level. In a boat, there'd be 4 main things to upgrade. Your storage chest, which would of course be required to store any loot that you receive or put in any required items that you might need. Your ship's cannon, which would be an offensive weapon used mainly in encounters at sea. Your hull strength, which would determine how much damage your ship can take before requiring repair. And the ship wheel. The ship wheel would give you a little bit more control over where you're going, what kind of encounters you're going to get, and the difficulty. Sailing the open ocean, of course, has quite a bit of wear and tear on your boat, so reasonably often you're going to need to repair your ship. Boats will need to be repaired with planks, regular oak, teak, and mahogany, as well as a brand new redwood plank. There would also be a whole host of new shipbuilding materials that would be required to be created similar to a buyable skill. This would provide a reasonably low experience per hour, but would be pretty AFK and could even be profitable depending on how many people are doing it. Think of making stuff like ship canvas, reinforced nails, or different types of cannonballs made exclusively for sailing cannons. Now, in no particular order, what other types of sailing encounters could you run into? Now, something I've kind of wanted to see in RuneScape for a while now is a PVM Tank test. There are a couple things like that in the game. I guess you could say the 6 Jad challenge, but here is what I would be envisioning. So in the deep oceans, you find a very small abandoned island. On the island, there's a very strange statue with a small staircase leading into a dark dungeon. This dungeon would be similar to maybe a floor of the Hallowed Sepulchre, and in the center there would be a chest with some high tier loot. The issue though is as soon as you grab it, the dungeon starts to rumble, the walls start to collapse, and you have to get out of there as soon as possible. But all of a sudden your player is tele-blocked, and the only way out is to run back the way you came. Getting in was moderately difficult, but leaving extremely challenging. Not only do you have to complete the same agility obstacles going out, but there'll be tons of damage coming from the collapsing cave, as well as guardian defenders attacking with ranged or magic alternating, which you'd have to prayer flick as you leave. You need a lot of food to get out of here successfully, and potentially prayer potions. I think that'd be pretty cool. Another idea I think is interesting would be a sailing clue scroll. You'd stumble upon an island that would have a randomly generated 4-step clue scroll. This would require you to do a few different things on the island, solving a few puzzles, digging in the right location, which would provide you with a mid-level reward. Another idea could be to have a skilling encounter. This could be a larger island with a small population of inhabitants living there, and maybe there's a infestation of these red chinchompa looking things that they want exterminated. You would have to catch all of the chinchompas on the island. You get to keep them, by the way, and you get a reward for doing that. The deep sea fishing encounter would be a new fishing and sailing training method. Now you'd be able to find this in the sailing gameplay loop, but you'd be able to sail back here after intentionally once you've discovered the location. Deep sea fishing would provide a new high tier fish, and while there'd only be one fishing spot, the difficulty is you'd have to keep your ship in the correct location, as you'd constantly be drifting away from the fishing spot. Now what would be the experience and the rewards from sailing? Well, experience wise, I was thinking you would start at a fairly low XP rate, maybe between 15 and 20,000 experience per hour, but each additional sailing port would bump it up a notable amount, giving you higher tier encounters that would give more rewarding experience. Once you're getting closer to 99, I was thinking you'd get somewhere between 100,000 and 150,000 experience per hour, slotting it kind of in a similar time frame as it takes to get a 99 in your melee stats or something like that. Now I personally envision sailing as a reasonably profitable skill. When you think about sailing the open ocean, daring to adventure the open seas, I mean, I think they're out there to make some money. I don't know about you guys, but so I think the rewards could involve a fair amount of existing items. So I think there could obviously be similar common rewards to what like a raid would give. I mean, like blood essence, runes, gems, herb seeds, raw fish, and some alcohols, but I think some of the rewards could also be more convenience things, such as discovering a new spot to hunt red chinchompas. Maybe an island has a hardwood tree patch that could be close to your ship's deposit box, making it a convenient way to bank those logs. Maybe sailing similar to Slayer could unlock new boss encounters that would actually train other skills, like maybe you locate a new hunter boss on a secluded island somewhere. I think the more you can integrate in other skills and reasons to level up sailing beyond just getting a higher sailing level, the more natural the skill will feel. Now sailing isn't a new idea, it's not my idea definitely, and it was even officially polled back in 2015, but failed. Now I think it failed mainly due to two main factors. One is there was just a different mentality back in 2015 on how much people thought the game should stray away from the original 2007 release. And secondly, I don't think the dev blog gave nearly enough information on what a sailing skill would actually look like. So that's why I thought it'd be fun to expand on the sailing skill and make kind of my own version of what I think would be fun. Now I think if we do get a new skill in Old School, it needs to be legitimately fun. Like we don't need another gathering skill or a skill like fire making. If anything, some of those skills should actually be updated to be more engaging, but that's a whole other topic. If you get a new skill, I think it should try to add legitimately exciting gameplay, to try to entice new people to try out the game, to keep existing players engaged, and I think sailing could have that spark if done correctly. Now obviously the version of sailing that I put forward in this video has tons of flaws with it. I think there needs to be some unique new rewards offered from the skill that aren't just, you know, random new PVM gear or existing loot and resource items from other skills. It needs some unique resources that it provides, I think, and I think it needs to be a bit more integrated into the wider game. Probably one of the most difficult things about adding a new skill is integrating it into the existing world. How do you make people train sailing? Obviously making it fun and engaging is really helpful in that, but there aren't going to be any quests that require sailing. There's no diaries that will require sailing. You could retroactively add those, but that seems like a whole other host of issues. And I think the reality is, at first, it's going to be challenging. It's going to require future content to build on sailing to really make it feel like an integrated skill, but that's going to be the case for any skill we add. But either way, let me know what you guys think of this video. It was obviously primarily just for fun. I wouldn't want to see the skill added in this exact manner. I was just kind of spitballing ideas, and I thought it'd be cool to make a video. Anyway, thanks for watching as always, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Now quickly before I go here, I just want to thank all of my members over on YouTube. Thank you so much to Alejandra, Prophet of the Boosh, Mitch Reinders, The Hybrid, and Kush Patel for all being subscribed at the Dragon tier. Also a giant thank you to YoYoSup89 and NDM0001 for subscribing at the Runite tier. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.